liters. It must be around 5.5 liters. Okay. I was checking here through the chat box to see any. Patrick, I don't know why you're raising up the hand. So let's go through here the blood group. So if someone has blood group A, they have antigen A and antibody B. And then if someone has blood group B, they have antigen B and antibody A. If someone has blood group AB, then they have antigen A and B. And therefore, the antibody is none. If someone has blood group O, they have no antigens, but they have antibody A and B. So what's the implication? Remember I told you that these antigens are just occurring on the red blood cells. We should simply understand it like this. This one is, let's just take this like as a family. Let's just take it as a family, for example. So let's say this is just like, let's assume it is a particular school. Should we use a school? Okay, it's okay. Let's use a school. Let's say this is school A. This school A puts on uniform blue, okay? Which is the antigen, like which identifies them, okay? So meaning where they don't allow in any other color other than blue. So in other words, so meaning they don't want any other color other than blue. And then let's say for blood group B, this is school B, and they put on red. So they will not want any other color other than red. Meaning, if blue comes here, then they will be sent away because they don't be students of that school. But for blood group AB, this is a school which puts on, let's say, blue and red. Okay? So meaning these ones, they don't have any antibodies. Whether someone comes and putting on blue, they'll allow. Someone comes putting on red, they'll allow. But for O, these ones don't put on any uniform. Okay? They don't put on any uniform. So we would simply take it like that. But the main thing to note here is the antigen, because the antigen is just like a cell marker or identifier. That's why I use the uniform. I'll check the chart. Okay. So let's go through the blood transfusion process now. So blood transfusion is the process of transferring donated blood to another person. The one who gives blood to a patient Okay, sorry about that. It was an issue of the network. Okay, let's proceed. Sorry about that. So we're still talking about transfusion of blood. So let's go through the table of compatibility. We have the donor on this side, and we should take those things serious. We have the donor this side, the donor is here, and then the recipient here. So meaning in this case, A can give blood to A. That's shown by a tick. A cannot give blood to B. That's why there is a cross here. And then A can give blood to AB. And then A cannot give blood to O. That's why there is a cross there. Now, someone can ask that, why is it not possible? So, remember here the game we are playing is a game of antigens, okay? A simply gave to A because they are like, they both have antigen A, okay? A was unable to give to B. Why? Because B produces antibody A, which can fight and cause agglutination for blood group A. Okay, that's why A cannot give B. But A can give AB because there is antigen A in AB, which looks like A. Therefore, it does not cause agglutination. That's why A can give to AB. A cannot give to O because O has no antigens, but has antibody A and B. Which antibodies can fight A? That's why A cannot give O. And then B, uh, B cannot give A simply because A produces antibody B, which fights blood group B. Therefore, that's why B cannot give A. But B can give B because they both have antigen B. B can give AB simply because there is antigen B on AB. That's why B can still also give AB. But B cannot give O simply because O produces antibody A and B, which can fight B. AB cannot give A. I mean, AB cannot give A. Why? Because AB cannot give A, AB cannot give B, then AB can give AB, and then AB cannot give O. So if we remember which antibodies are produced by A, remember AB doesn't produce any antibodies. Okay? You remember that. So you shall understand why they don't give them. Then O can give anyone. Like you see, all of it is ticked. So, and simply because O has antigen, I mean, O doesn't have any antigens, but they have antibody A and B. So, the main thing is, how do we come here? Let me check the chat box first. Okay, people are still introducing themselves here. Okay, so that's the way it is. Note, blood group AB can receive blood from all other blood groups, like you see. All the line of AB can receive. Meaning, if a person has blood group AB, they will be in a position to receive blood from anyone. Okay? So meaning, if you're of blood group AB, then you're very lucky. And then for blood group O, and then for blood group O, they can donate to everyone. But however, for them, they only receive from blood group O. That's a disadvantage. So if your blood group O, you can give anyone. but for you only receive from blood group O. So on AB, excuse me, on AB and O, who is better? AB receives from anyone, while O can give anyone, but for them they only receive from O. So who is better in life? So people are saying AB is better. So whoever is AB, then they should be very proud of themselves. So an individual blood group A can receive blood from individual blood group A and O only. I think we have done that. An individual blood group B can receive from B and O only. We have done that. Then an individual blood group O can receive blood from individuals of blood O only. An individual blood group AB can receive from individuals of blood group AB, and O, all blood groups. That's why I call them universal recipients. While O is a universal donor. Okay? So, right. Kisache, I don't know if you have a serious question, then, but you can simply type it, please. So let's go through the factors considered during blood donation. So, who must donate blood? That's the first thing. So every adult has the potential to donate blood. However, the following are usually considered before blood donation. So I'm sure you people, are you adults anyway? Are you adults? Some are adults. No, you're not even younger adults. You're adolescents. So so I can say, am I allowed to donate blood? Yeah, you're adolescent, so you can still donate blood. But if the age must only be between 16 and 50 years old. However, if you're below that, is the moment you go and donate blood, you'll faint from there. So they usually take 16 because at least you're nearer the age of consent. But below that, you're still young to donate blood. And then health status, individuals who are sick or recovering from sickness should not donate blood. Now remember that when you're sick, you lose some blood. So should you be recovering or sick, and then you can donate blood, you'll faint from there. So you shouldn't do that. You only do that, donate blood when you're very normal. Pregnancy, pregnant and breastfeeding mothers should not donate blood. So if you're pregnant, you're breastfeeding, don't donate blood. Weight, the person donating blood should weigh at least 50 kilograms. So the moment you're below 50, then don't donate blood, because usually for a person who is below 16, it is very rare for them to make 50. And then time, women can donate blood once every 4 months, while men can donate blood once every 3 months. So why do you think women must donate after 4 months and then men after 3 months? What about A plus? What has A plus done? Men have more blood. Okay. Such says men have more blood, that's why they should donate after 3 months. And women have less blood. Okay, that's good. Women lose every month. Women don't actually lose a lot of blood. It is simply the shedding of the uterine lining. Okay. So it's not losing blood as such. Okay. So for now, we have understood how blood group is shared, okay? Between the blood groups. Now we bring in another factor, which is called the resource factor system. Now, how do we get to this resource factor? Resource factor was got from a rhesus monkey, or that's where the first experiment was carried out. That's why it got the name rhesus factor. So research factor is just a protein. Sometimes it's called the D antigen in some books. So it is a protein also found on the cell membrane of the red blood cells. Now, this research factor, you can either have it or not have it. That's I said it can also be called the D antigen. A person can either have it or not have it. For a person who has that research factor, we say they are positive. For the person who doesn't have the research factor, we say they are negative. Remember, these are just cell marks. These just from the time we talked about antigens up there. These are simply marks on the cell. Okay. So a person, many individuals have the research factor and are said to be research positive. It means that the antigen or has the research factor. While if you don't have the research factor and are said to be research negative. Okay. Now, a person who is research factor positive can receive a successful blood donation without agglutination from a person of research positive and a person of research negative. If someone has that antigen, the D antigen, then, or they are research factor positive, then they can receive blood from a person who is positive and then the one who is negative. I hope you have noted that. The person who is research factor positive can receive blood from the person who is research factor positive and the one who is research factor negative. I think that one is noted. But, okay, there is something we didn't add here. But however, for a person who is research factor negative, can receive from a person who is research factor negative, always. However, a person who is research factor negative shall only receive blood from a person who is research factor positive only once in a lifetime. I don't know if you get me. For a person who is research factor negative, they can receive from a person who is research factor negative. Okay? However, a person who is research factor negative can also receive from blood from a person who is research factor positive, but only once in a lifetime. I'll explain to you how it occurs. I'll use a scenario. For example, a mother can be research factor negative, and then the father's, the mother's research factor negative, the father's positive, meaning his sperm cells are also having positive on the cell as a cell marker. When the sperm fertilizes, let's say they give birth, they definitely end up with a baby who is research negative. Such a fetus shall grow in the womb and can successfully even be given birth to as a baby. However, the time the mother who is research factor negative, the second time they carry a baby who is research factor positive, it will lead to a miscarriage. Why? Because this baby who is research factor positive shall be seen as a foreign body, or shall be seen as an antibody that shall be fought by the mother, leading to a miscarriage or an abortion. So we can simply take it that, in a summary, the person who is research factor positive receives blood from a person who is research factor positive and negative. But a person who is research factor negative receives blood from a person who is research factor negative, can also receive blood from a person who is research factor positive, but only once in a lifetime. Okay. And on that note, we shall do this activity. Okay, let's do this activity. So they say James, whose mother has hepatitis B, was involved in a motor accident. He hit his head, lost a lot of blood, and became unconscious. He was rushed to a nearby health center. Where they found that he is blood group AB and also had injured his kidneys. The doctor advised that John should undergo blood transfusion in addition to other medication. The health center did not have blood, but James's relatives with safe blood were willing to donate to save his life. However, they were confused as to who of them could donate the blood. The table below shows blood groups of James's available relatives. Then you have a cousin who has blood group a mother B, sister AB, mother O. Task. Explain how the accident affected the functioning of James's body. B. Without referring James to another hospital, suggest with the reasons which relatives could donate blood to James. Excuse me. Okay, let me go through the chat box here. Because women menstruate. What are you answering? Doctor says, I have A plus. Okay, that's good. Teacher, you didn't explain D antigen. D antigen means the rhesus factor is done. We call it the D antigen, please. What happens if twice leads to a miscarriage or agglutination? That's why if I can find that some people can stay for long without producing, usually a woman will be getting miscarriages. It can be because of the D antigen thing or the rhesus factor. Not clear. Rina, what was not clear? Can you retype it? And then I explain. Is it only the administrators allowed what? To chat in the group? Please tell me. No, even you can chat in the group. No, I will open the room for discussions later. I know because usually when I unmute you people, you always cause a lot of confusion because everyone will be wanting to speak. So I'll unmute in the last 30 minutes for interactions. So don't mind. So can the resource be absent? Yes. For someone who is resource factor negative, it means that they don't have the D antigen. Their fate is absent. So the people who are negative, it means that they don't have the resource factor. So can the resource be absent? Okay, I've answered that. Yeah, it can. Those okay. Someone has answered there. It affected him when he injured his kidney. His sister, because nothing makes me feel better than it. What? All can except mother who has hepatitis B. I want you to answer that. Answer that. You're going to tell me those answers. The question sample isn't clear. Sure. Can the resource factor be absent? Yes, it can be absent. I think I've explained that. I think all can accept. Okay. Previous page. Previous pages, please. I want us to do this first. Blood flowing through James' blood is not filtered properly, hence causing inefficiency in the blood. Okay. Stacy Alafi. you should only type content concerning this area, okay? For all any other information, send it specifically to that person, okay? Don't type it for everyone. We hope you don't have issues with the settings. So my red blood cells have two antigens, A, B, and D. Yes, if you are AB plus or AB positive, then you also have the antigen D. Teacher, does the rhesus factor constitute the formation of blood? No, remember, these ones are just occurring on the surface of the blood. Remember, the red blood cell is a cell, and on its surface, it has the antigen A. I told that these antigens are simply markers or identifiers, just like I used the case of uniform. Meaning, if someone's blood group A, they are dressed on uniform of A, okay? The moment something comes and is not dressed on the uniform like the one of A, then it shall be seen as a foreign body. Yes, you can either have the D antigen or not. It's very true. Okay, I've finished the chat. Should I proceed? I'll need those answers. Do also other cells, okay, let me check this. Do also other cells have antigens? Yes, all cells of the body have antigens. All of them. Remember, because each cell must have an antigen, because remember, not all cells shall, like the cells you have, don't always stay there for long. That explains why you can bathe in the morning and then by evening you see some dirt on your skin. It simply means that there are some cells dying, and for a cell to decide whether to die or not, it should be having the identifier for being old, which is an antigen, okay? So all cells have antigens. Okay, someone said I share some notes for blood transfusion in the group. I will share them. I'm going to upload them here, or if possible now. Let me upload them here. Transport, where is it? I will send the message to Hannah only. Hannah. Okay. Excuse me. Let me send to everyone. No. Transport in animals. Okay. It is coming here. It will be you to share it in the group. All right. I think I can now proceed. Which was another area you said we should talk about? Type it here. I think you talked about coordination as well. Okay. So let's proceed. Okay, so we shall do some coordination. I don't know which specific part shall we handle, because people talked about it last time. Can you type here the part we should handle in coordination? Oh, nervous. Edna says nervous substance. Okay. Let's go to the nervous coordination. Okay, so I'll open this for chats and sharing of the answers and ideas during the last 30 minutes. So we shall straight away go to the nervous coordination. At least we all have nerves. Usually when someone is an asset or someone doesn't want to see someone, say that person is on my nerves. What does that mean? So usually when someone is annoyed, or you usually say someone is nervous, right? So I'll check the chat here. Okay. So this is comprised of the nervous system, which is a system of nerve cells and sensory organs that carry on out coordination by transfer of impulses. So here we have got mainly new words like nerve cells, sensory organs, and then impulses. Nerve cells are those cells which are specifically meant for the transport of electrical information. Remember, information that flows in the form of an impulse, which is an electrical message. Usually for electricity, it travels very fast. The moment they turn on the electricity from Ginger, even the person who is in West Nile shall receive it in that record time. You'll not have to wait that, no, now the power has reached Iganga, now it has reached Soroti, now it has reached Gulu, now it has reached Arua. No, it shall travel in that record time. So all information, all the nervous code information flows in the form of impulses, which are electric in nature, because that electricity flows very fast. Sensory organs are those organs which receive information from the environment. We have the eyes, which see. We have the ears that listen. We have the nose that smell. We have the skin that feels. Which one have we left out? We have the tongue that tastes. So the main keywords we talk about here are the receptors. Receptors are those sense organs that receive information from the environment. So as I said, they detect stimuli. Stimuli is that thing that is sensed. For example, touch is a stimuli. When something touches you, you'll obviously feel it using the skin. So the stimuli shall be touch. So the receptors are simply those organs. You have the skin, nose, tongue, eyes, and ears. Stimuli is that thing that creates the impulse. Like said, for example, a snake can be a stimulus. For example, the touch can be a stimulus. For example, when you put food in the mouth or sugar, for example, in the mouth can be a stimulus. Then impulses are simply the electrical messages, or they can be chemical. Electrical are those that flow very fast. Usually say, like you always, it's just like when something paralyzes you, that's when you see like some electricity going through you. But it can also be chemical in a way that, I'll give you an example. When sometimes you can be very hungry and then you return home or you go back to your hostel, and the mere sight of someone whose bread makes you salivate, even if the bread is not yours, and even if you're sure that you'll not receive the bread. So in that case, it shall be chemical. The salivation is coming up because it is a chemical response. Okay? So not all information is always in electrical. Effectors are usually those parts that are affected by the stimulus. For example, if you see a snake, the snake shall be the stimulus. What shall receive the stimulus shall be the eyes, for example. Then the information shall be sent to the brain and then interpreted. The interpretation shall be giving muscles enough energy to help you run away. So in this case, the effect is on the muscles. So the muscles shall be the effectors. Let me check the chat room here. I see a lot of messages. Okay, I don't see something very much. Let's go to the functions of the nervous system. It receives impulses from all sensory organs of the body. So that's the role of the nervous system. Otherwise, you could see the snake and then you don't react at all. Or you could simply see the snake, then you start laughing. Yet you must run away. So it is the nervous system that receives the impulse and then transmits it, interprets it using the brain, and then helps you give a rightful action or response. It also stores the information, yes. Sometimes there is no way you can see the snake and run away unless you have ever seen it before or someone has ever explained to you that the snake is very dangerous. Okay? So because the information that someone told you that the snake is very dangerous and you kept it in the head, or the brain is stored that information, it shall be the reason as to why you see the snake and run away. Otherwise, if someone told you and you didn't store any information of how bad the snake is, then you could simply stay there. So the nervous system helps store that information so that the next time the thing happens, you can easily act responsibly or accordingly. It correlates various stimuli from different sensory organs. So sometimes it's just like, you can even be watching TV, for example. Let's say I'll check for the name here in the chat, and then I shall be using that as an example. Let's say Macklin. Let's say Macklin one time prepared the pilau and smelled so bad. Then the next time she sees pilau prepared on TV, she'll obviously relate the smell. Obviously, she'll smell that smell, even if the pilau is being prepared from TV. So it is because of the nervous system that can correlate, it can relate a lot of things at once. You have seen the rice on the TV, but you're able to relate the smell. That is because of the brain. So it sends the messages to all parts of the body, making them function accordingly. Just like I said, because you have ever had or you have ever been told that the snakes are dangerous, the moment you see a snake, you'll obviously run away simply because you know that the snakes are dangerous. And that one happens because of the nervous system. Because the moment it sees the snake, because you know that the snake is very dangerous, it shall all of a sudden give you a lot of energy. That's why you find that someone can be sick, having serious malaria. And even if the teacher comes in class and tells them that, actually, even if teacher comes and wants to punish them, all the students will say that, sir, no, you're acting very bad. That person is sick. But should a snake follow from the ceiling, such a person might be even the first to come out. Why? Because the nervous system just gives you a lot of energy to help you out of that situation. It coordinates metabolic reactions in the body and regulates internal environment. Yes, because of the nervous system, all our body reactions are regulated. Sometimes you can be hungry, for example, and then when you're moving back home, you'll be like, even if I finally have cooked 2 kilograms of rice, I can finish them. But when you reach home and then you're given just a plateful, you eat and then you even feel you can't finish the plate. That one works because of the nervous system. It regulates the amount of food you need, so that when you go past, it tells you that no, don't exceed. This is your limit. And when it goes below, then it tells that no, add. When the temperatures becomes rising, it says no, it is going beyond the required. Please bring down. So that is the role of the nervous system. Uh, After this, we shall go to neurons. Neurons are made up of small mass of cytoplasm, a nucleus in a structure called the cell body, branching cytoplasmic filaments called dendrites, and a single long fiber called axon. And in this case, I'll simply talk about the three main types of neurons. We have the sensory neuron, motor neuron, and then the relay neuron. Sensory neuron is that neuron that picks information from the sense organ. That's why it is called the sensory neuron. So a sensory neuron picks the information, let's say, from the eyes, and then brings it to the relay neuron. The relay neuron shall send the information to the motor neuron. Motor neuron is the one which connects to the effector. In most cases, let's take the skin. Something falls on you. Of course, the information shall be picked by the sensory neuron, taken to the relay neuron. In the relay neuron, we have what we call the gray matter. That is found in the spinal cord. We usually have what we call the gray matter and the white matter. The more gray matter a person has, the more sensitive they be. White matter is not usually for senses. That's why usually a person who has a lot of gray matter in the brain, they are more intelligent than the ones who have less gray matter. So so usually the sensory neuron picks the information from the receptor, for example, the skin, takes it to the gray matter. That's where the relay neuron is. Then the relay neuron connects between the sensory and the motor. It's the relay neuron where the information is made sense of, or where the information is interpreted. When it is interpreted, the message shall be sent back to the motor neuron to cause which motor neuron shall transfer the information to the effector. And in this case, let's take the effector being the muscles. So after something touching you, of course, and this happens in a very short time, you'll be able to realize that no, this thing touching me should have been a cockroach. And then after it being interpreted then the relay neuron shall send the information to the motor neuron. The motor neuron shall cause immediate effect. Therefore, you shall be able to stand up and run very fast. So that one happens in a very short time. Why? Because these are electrical messages. So electricity moves at a very record fast speed that sometimes you not realize that it has happened even. So let's go to the sensory neuron. Sensory neurons are cells that transmit impulses from the receptor cells. The receptor are the sense organs. We should be noting that. To the central nervous system. The central nervous system has the spinal cord and the brain. So it has a single elongated dendrite called a dendron. And it has a cell body in the middle of a short axon and dendron. It is sometimes surrounded with myelin sheath. Excuse me. Let me check the chat box. Mugisa says, I pardon. Please, anytime you say pardon, you should tell me what I should pardon. Otherwise, sometimes I might read the thing. So Zhao says, I'm not understanding. Zhao, where? Tell me what I should pardon. Mugisa Olive, type here what I should pardon. Okay, I'll go through again. Someone said that I pardon, I didn't pick it so well. Oh, I'm explaining fast. Sorry about that. I'll be slow. Please, let me come again slowly. So a neuron is simply made up of a small mass of cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is okay, like this, these neurons are not like they will draw other cells, okay? They're a bit different because these are, we used to call them what? Specialized cells, eh? They have been, their structure adapts them to the role they do. That's why we are saying that they are made up of a small mass of cytoplasm, very small. Like you see these blue ones, these ones here, they are very small. They are not like other cells, okay? So, and this is the cytoplasm we are meaning, this one here. These ones, these are the cytoplasms we are meaning, okay? And the nucleus, a nucleus is this one, and this one, okay? We also say they have the mitochondrion. There is a mitochondrion here, and then these ones are very many, so they are mitochondria. Here there are two, here there are also two. Branching cytoplasmic filaments. These are the branching cytoplasmic filaments. You see these ones? These ones here. These branches are the ones we are calling the branching cytoplasmic filaments. They are called dendrites. These ones. Okay? And the whole role of that is for them to increase the surface area over which the information must be picked or shared. And single long fiber called axon. The axon is the whole of this. You see this, where the whole of this red arrow is the one we call the axon. So we mainly have three sensory neurons. I mean, we mainly have three neurons. We have the sensory neuron. Sensory neuron picks information from the sense organ. And then you have the motor neuron. Motor neuron picks information from the central nervous system. And the central nervous system can be the brain, or it can be the spinal cord. So the motor neuron picks the information from the central nervous system to the effector. Effector can be a muscle. For example, when you touch the hot object, information shall be picked from the hands to the spinal cord. Okay. Now, from the neuron shall carry information from where you have touched from the skin where the hot object has been felt up to the spinal cord shall be the sensory neuron. Now, the neuron that shall be able to pick the information from the central nervous system or the spinal cord to the hand, back to the hand for it to withdraw it, shall be the motor neuron. Relay neuron is just a link between the motor neuron and the sensory neuron. Yeah, I'm going to share the notes here. Someone can download them, then shares them in the group. Okay. So I want us to make my understanding of the sensory neuron, which picks information from the sense organ to the central nervous system or the spinal cord. Then the one which picks information from the spinal cord to the effector. Effector can be the muscles that can help you withdraw the hand. Okay, is the motor neuron. The relay neuron is just a link between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. And then this is just a more explanation on the sensory neuron. But the main thing we should understand is the sensory neuron picks information from the sense organ to the central nervous system. Central nervous system can either have the spinal cord or the brain. Okay. So we said we got a new word here, which was myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is just a fat. And the presence of the fat makes the movement of the information very fast. Okay. So myelin sheath is a fat that quickens the flow of information, if I would put it like that. We also have Schwann cell. All those ones are parts. Motor neuron, this transmits impulses from the central nervous system to the effector organs such as muscles and glands. So it can be a muscle in the case where someone has touched a hot object or thinks they have stepped on the snake, so that the muscles get a lot of energy and they make you fly away very fast. But it can also be the glands in the case where someone has come back home and sees mom preparing a very delicious meal. Just by you mere seeing the pilau being put there, you'll salivate. Saliva is coming from the glands. So it was because of you seeing the food that the sensory neurons picked the information from the eyes, send them to the nervous system, to the central nervous system, and then the central nervous system sent information through the motor neuron to the glands. Glands reacted by secreting saliva. Okay? So motor neurons consist of short dendrites with a cellular body, like shown there. It has the stroma, it has the dendrites, nucleus, the demyelination, but they are same things, so you shouldn't worry about that. And then the relay neuron is just like you see the way it is. It is a neuron located in the central nervous system. Transmits impulses from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So this one is just a link between the two. It connects the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. This one is found in the central nervous system. Let's take the case of the spinal cord, okay? So this it is also referred to as the intermediate neuron. A relay neuron is either an unipolar, bipolar, or multipolar. Now, unipolar means that it has only one line. Like it is just one line, leave alone these ones which are branched. If it is just made up of one line, then like this one, then we shall say that one is unipolar. Bipolar is when it is made up of two branches. And then multipolar is when it is made up of several branches. So it is cell body is in the middle of the fiber and has no myelin sheath. This one has no myelin sheath because it has no information to transferring. Let me check the chat box. So there are many messages. Please add me in the WhatsApp group. Add me too. Okay. There are people who are asking to be added. I'm here to open the chat room. I'm here to unmute you and we discuss. So that's the structure of a neuron. And then these are the functions of the parts. Cell body. This consists of a nucleus surrounded by a mass of cytoplasm. The nucleus controls all activities of the neuron. We know the nucleus is just like the head teacher's office. It controls everyone in the school. Axon, this one transmit. It is just something that is very long that transmits information for over a long distance. Myelin sheath, this one is a fat which insulates the axon and speeds up the transmission of impulse. Meaning the more myelin sheaths you have, the more faster the information travels. Dendrites, these are hair-like substances surrounding the cell body. They conduct incoming signals. We have nodes of Ranvier. This is the space on the axon between two adjacent myelin sheaths. It speeds up the nervous transmission. So, like you see, all the parts that are on this neuron, their main function is to speed up the speed at which the impulse, at which the electrical information flows. So all these parts, myelin sheath, nodes of Ranvier, all of them are having one adaptation, speed up the transmission of the impulse. Why? Because we must act very fast or we must respond very fast to the stimulus in our environment. Otherwise, if you have any damage on them, then you become very slow on responding to the stimulus. And in that case, they will start giving you names. We have comparison is there between the motor neuron and the sensory neuron. And these are just structural differences that you read. I want to mainly talk about the brain in the 4 minutes. So, our brain, depending on the way you're seeing it, let's say I'll give you the case when you're standing on the sides. I mean sides, like when you're seeing, you can see someone's ear, one ear. Then if you're standing like that, then you shall say the brain has 3 parts: the fore brain, the mid brain, and the hind brain. But if you're standing in front of a person, meaning you're standing face to face, the brain has 2 hemispheres: the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Now, in most cases, I don't know if you have ever realized this, the buttons, apart from your school uniforms, but usually when you get typical blouses for women, the side which has buttons is not the same side like the shirts for men. I don't know if you have observed that. Who has ever observed that? Yeah, I'm rushing because I wanted to reach the brain. I'll share them. I'll share the notes. Okay, someone wants briefly to go to this. Okay. So I was asking, usually you often see that the side, usually the ladies' buttons are put on the left. So the hand button going to the right. And the men's buttons are put on the right, then the button going to the left. I don't know if you have observed that. So why is that like that? Because, yes, I'm going to open and then I allow you to ask questions, please. Just at 3:30. Actually, it's time already. Okay, so usually, because the brain has two hemispheres and each controls the other. Usually for men, their strokes are always on in most cases, many strokes affect the right and many strokes affect the left. Okay, and this thread, let me open up the chat. I'm going to unmute. Okay, the floor is now open. You're free to unmute. The problem is when I ask you to unmute, all of you unmute, which
So we
is
shall
wrong.
be raising up the hands.
Of course. You raise up the hand when you ask your question. Okay, let me start with Mugisa.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that.
Okay, you can unmute? Yes?
Sir, thank you for the opportunity.
Mm.
Sir, there is something small that I did not understand very well and you was lashing. So I kept the question and I want to ask it now. Excuse me, sir.
No, I have to mute to let you talk. So you should talk.
Sir, when you was explaining about the sensory neurons and the motor neurons, there's where you said that one transmits the impulses from the receptors to the central nervous system, and then the motor neurons transmits impulses from the central nervous system to the effectors organs. Now, there's something that's still confusing me. There's where we say that the sensory neurons picks the information and takes them to the brain for interpretation. And then others picks the information, which is impulses from the brains to the other parts of the body to secrete some of the fluids like hormones to do something, and someone then runs away. So now, which organs that takes the information from the effectors, I mean from the receptors to the brain, and then to the other glands, for example the adrenal glands, to stimulate the hormones called adrenaline hormones. So here you have said that the motor neurons, for them, they just transmit impulses from the central nervous system to the effectors organs. Then the other side, we say that the eye send the messages to the brain for interpretation. After interpretation, then to the some glands secrete some hormones. So I would like you to explain more about that organs that sends messages to the brain and the other organs that sends messages to the central nervous system. Thank you.
All right, let me answer that. So I say that I'll give two examples. One involving the effectors being the muscles. Second, involving the effectors being the glands. I'll start with the one for the muscles. I'll give an example where someone has seen. Okay, I think I'll use the thing. Okay, let me use thing. Let's assume someone has seen a snake, for example. The information shall be picked from the sense organ, which is the eyes, and then it shall be sent to the central nervous system. The central nervous system has the brain or the spinal cord. Okay, so they said the information has been picked from the sense organs, the eyes, to the central nervous system, and meaning either the information has been sent to the brain or to the spinal cord. So the neurons that shall pick the information from the sense organ, the eye, to the central nervous system shall be the sensory neurons. Okay. Then between the sensory neurons and the motor neurons, the relay neuron. Relay neurons are responsible for the information for the flow of impulse within the central nervous system. So meaning, as you've seen the snake, the information has been brought to the central nervous system, and then if it is a reflex actions are those actions that you do without your conscience, like they are just automatic. So when the information has been picked by the sensory neurons to the central nervous system, then a copy of the information shall be sent to the brain for interpretation, meaning it is the relay neurons that are playing that are sending that information within the central nervous system. So let's say I've seen the snake, the information has reached the CNS, the central nervous system, because of the help of the sensory neurons. The information has been, a copy of the information has been sent to the brain for interpretation and the storage. The neurons that always are within the central nervous system are the relay neurons or the intermediate neurons. Okay. After this information has been interpreted, and it is true that it is a snake, then information shall be sent to the effectors. In this case, the effectors are the muscles, which shall help you run away. Okay. Now, let's take the case of, still the same case, when the information has reached the brain and it has been interpreted as a snake, the information shall cause what you call the cascade effect. It shall cause it shall send information to all organs, and those organs that have glands shall be able to secrete hormones that can enable you run away or overcome that challenge or overcome that stimulus you've seen. For example, if it were a snake, then information shall be sent to the adrenal glands to produce adrenaline. Some information shall also be sent to the liver to enable to enable glucagon to make more glucose available for you to make more energy for you to easily run away. So that's the way it is related. The sensory neuron picks information from the sense organ, brings it to the central nervous system. Central nervous system plays the role of interpreting the information and then also storing the information. And then after interpreting the information successfully, it sends the information through the motor neuron to either the muscles or the glands that shall secrete the best the best solution for that challenge, and then you act accordingly. You raise up the hand for me to see and unmute you. Is there anyone raising up the hand? I don't see any. There is, who was raising up the hand from this? There was Patrick. Okay, let me unmute all of you. Patrick?
Okay. Okay, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Actually, I raised my hand, but
Happy. Okay, just a moment. Let me first mute all these people.
Okay.
Okay, Let me look for Patrick. Patrick, you can raise up the hand side. I can you come up there and I easily see you. Raise up the hand, Patrick side. I can easily locate the name. Let me search it out here. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thanks, sir. I'm like, I got your question, but when this past brother was the question and during your explanation, that's when now I learned, I understood something. But before you, before this guy asked the question, I was totally confused about the motor neutrons and the other ones you talked of. Actually, you were rushing and the notes were so many. So I think you may help us and then you drop it in the group. All of us, we may do us, we may download it and we read through it.
It's okay. It's okay. Another
Yeah.
person? Subi, where's Subi?
Good afternoon, teacher.
Subi, talk. Good
Good
afternoon to you.
afternoon, teacher.
Good afternoon to
Yes,
you.
ask why the buttons of about the buttons of a man and a woman, but you didn't complete.
Oh, so you want me to complete?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can unmute now. I mean, you can mute. Okay, so usually our brain most people are right-handed. Majority of the people are right-handed. It's only about 11% of the whole world's population that are left-handed. Now, usually the left hemisphere of the brain controls the actions of the right. That's why people are right-handed anyway. But often you realize that for those people who use laptops or who use keyboards when they're typing, you realize that usually the right hand shall always stay in one place, but the left hand shall be the one moving around. Okay? Yet it is not the strong hand. So this is what it means. Usually the hand which usually call the strong hand is usually mainly for doing physical work, would I say. And then this left hand, the one we usually call the weak hand, is usually for tactical work. And because of that, that's why I said women, they usually have their buttons on the left. Because women usually are more tactical than men. For example, if a man is very good at focusing on one task at a time, but a woman is not. A woman can be thinking about a number of tasks at a go. That's why a woman can be cooking, at the same time thinking about their baby, at the same time thinking about the husband. But for a man, if a man is in the office, he is strict on the office, simply because men are not tactical enough. Like, because usually for them, they usually have only their left side of the brain working. But for a woman, usually they can equally use their hands. That's why women's buttons are on the left and then they anti going to the right. But for a man, they're on the right going to the left. That is the essence behind. So that's why we usually take it that women are more tactical than men, because their brain has been wired in a way that they can do multiple tasks at a go. But very few men can do several tasks at a go. A man is very good at focusing on only one task at a time. Usually when you give them many tasks at the same time, they don't become very effective. But a woman can do several tasks at the same time. That's why they are able to look at the baby, at the same time cooking, at the same time even talking to the phone, like that, simply because of the way the brain is. Maybe we shall talk about that more when you talk about the brain in depth. The brain has a lot of interesting things that it does, that you realize, you actually, when you talk about them, that's when you just realize that, so this happened is because of this. So like that. Any other? Raise up the hand if you have any questions to ask. Actually, that one also works with the stroke. Usually the stroke for men, the side where the stroke gets for men is not usually the same side that the stroke gets for women. You can search that also. So that's why those changes usually come because of the brain. Patrick has a question. By Patrick, you've already talked. I wish you could give a chance to another person. But it's okay. You can talk.
Okay, and I've already talked, but it could be someone's chance, but they are not raising their hand. As like the explanation says that if your brain, okay, actually, most cases, the right hand is more stronger than the left hand. But there are some people who are lefties, like there are some students who write using left, like me myself. I use the left for writing, and for throwing stone, I use the left. For eating, I use the right. Because when I was young, they used to restrict me from eating using left. So I trained myself from eating using right. But writing and throwing a stone, I mostly use what? The left. So also my left hand is it weaker than the right?
Patrick, come again on the
Uh,
question. Come again.
okay. As like you said,
Yes.
most cases the left hand is weaker than the right one.
Yes.
Simply because the right one does the hard work and the left one does tactics. But there are people who are lefties, like me myself. An example, I write using left, and eating food I use right. So yes, because they trained me to use right when I was still young. They used to tell me to not use left. They restricted me, but now I'm using right for eating. But throwing a stone, or let me say something like the writing, I use my left. And how comes how comes okay, there is it also my left hand side and also those people who are still playing football, there are those who are lefties, they use their left than their right. So are their left also weaker than the right, or their brain are the one for girls?
Oh, now okay, that's the same thing. Usually, people who are left-handed, they are also more gifted people because they usually have, but still the same thing usually in most cases. But I know for usually you, yeah, what I was trying to mean here is that can you multitask? Can you equally use the right hand as they use the left? Which I know something you can't. But if you
Okay,
can multitask, then you're also more gifted.
okay,
Uh,
okay, thanks.
all right. Keep the hand up in case you have a question. I'm sharing here notes for nervous coordination. Mugisa, let me unmute you. Okay, Mugisa, you can talk.
Sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please, I can hear you.
There is an item that I met. It was saying that a person was coming from a bar and that person encountered a snake.
Yes.
So his breathing rate increased.
Mm.
The rate of heartbeat also increased.
Yes.
And then that person ran away from where he encountered the snake and he reached home.
Yes.
So the task was that explain how the how the body of that person coordinated from the time when that person encountered the snake up to the time when his heartbeat increased, when his breathing rate increased, and then from that place to home. So now, how can I explain that using the sensory neurons, the motor neurons, and the relay neurons?
Okay. Okay. So meaning in that case, you should explain from what happened, because what saw the snake? The eyes. Okay. After the eyes seeing the snake, how the information reached the brain? It moved through the. So meaning you said that the eyes saw the snake, in which case the snake was the stimulus. Okay. Eyes saw the snake. Information has moved from the eyes to the central nervous system through the sensory neuron. The information was moved to the brain for interpretation and storage. After interpretation, the message was moved to the effectors through the motor neuron. And the effect on the effectors was increased breathing rate, and then you said that and then increased heartbeat for blood to flow easily to the muscles. Okay, Doreen, I don't know the problem with you. Okay, so in this case, you have to identify what was in the stimulus of the snake. Okay, how the information how was it seen by the eyes? Then how the electrical impulse flow? It flew. It moved from the eyes to the central nervous system through the sensory neuron. When it reached the central nervous system, it was sent to the brain for interpretation, and then the information, and then the information was sent to the effector through the motor neuron. The effectors were the lungs, for example, which increased breathing. Maybe the effectors were the heart muscles that increased the heartbeat. Okay. So simply here, the main thing to note is try to note you should have the knowledge. You should have some knowledge on neurons. Then talk about the effectors, which we like talked about. We had the heart and the lungs. Okay.
But excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Can't I bring in the things of adrenaline glands?
Now, it's simple. I could have brought in that, but so far I've not yet touched the chemical coordination. Okay. However, okay, I think you want me to bring in the adrenal glands, which is okay. Let me bring it in. Okay. Like
Yes.
using the other example I used earlier, where we saw the snake, the information was taken to the brain for interpretation, and then still the sensory the motor neurons sent information to the effectors. And in this case, we have let's say the effectors are the adrenal glands, which are secrete adrenaline. Okay. The high concentration of adrenaline increases the heartbeat and also the breathing rate. It also increases the glucagon hormone, which makes glucose more available to make more energy that can enable a person that can put a person into flight or into fleeing. I think that one can work for you better now.
Yes, sir. That one is now enough for me.
Yeah. But in this case, what I try to bring in is relate when you talk about the effect, now for you in this case, you're bringing the effect of being the adrenal glands, okay, which are secreting adrenaline. The role of adrenaline is it increases the heartbeat and then the breathing rate. That's a very good idea.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. There I saw Trevor. Trevor, keep the hand up. Trevor? Okay, let me mute. Where is Trevor? Let me search.
Master, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Master, I just wanted to know what neurotransmitters are.
What neurotransmitters are?
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain that. You can mute. Now, neurotransmitters are substances that either quicken or slow down the transmission of impulses. They are simple at the ends of the neurons. I'll give you an example. Usually I would use drugs and substances. There are those substances that a person takes and they are very hyper. I'll give you a case of when someone takes alcohol. Such a person shall be very happy. They just smile at anything. They are speaking even words they couldn't speak when they were normal. They speak English when if someone has never gone to school. But there are also those substances that a person takes and they are very humble. They don't talk. Even if these people are very rude, you'll find them very humble. That is the effect of neurotransmitters. There are those neurotransmitters that quicken the rate at which the impulse is transmitted. And those such impulses make you very hyper, you talk a lot. Well, there are those neurotransmitters that make you very humble because they slow down the movement of an impulse. So neurotransmitters are simply substances that are found at ends of neurons that either quicken or slow down the transmission of an impulse. I hope I've answered you. Any other? I see we are coming to the end. It can, many are now for business and law. At least most of them, though. This means they are running away from sciences. Life is hard. Who was typing this? Stacy. But Stacy, why? Okay. Unless others, so who can give us the closing prayer? I see people aren't asking. I'll put the notes here, checking the messages. Someone can download them from here, then shares them. Checking the previous messages before I log off. Nervous coordination, I sent it here to everyone. You can download it. Checking the messages. Someone in the group can check. Such want to pray for us? Okay. Kisache, do you want to pray?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, you pray.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of our dear parents and teachers. We thank you for enabling us to go through this biology lesson, and we pray so that whatever we have learned, we may capture it and not forget it. Pray so that you may provide for us school fees and requirements to school. Continue being with us. Give our teachers and parents journey mercies. Prayed. Amen.
Okay, amen. You can say bye to each other before I close. I've unmuted all of you, so you can give anyone a minute to say bye to another.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, teacher.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
goodbye. And in case you don't meet
Bye.
again, have a nice
Bye.
second term.
We meet next day
Bye.
tomorrow. I don't know which subject, guys. Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
If it could be evening, it could go okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Ketra. Bye
Bye.
to you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Guys, bye.
Bye.